How's it going, guys? It's John here from Hot Take Hockey to talk about Timothy Liljegren and Leafs trade rumors, and if I think that Liljegren should be traded by the Leafs, if it means getting a roster-ready player right now, whether it's on the back end or the forward group. And I just want to come out straight with the answer and say no, I do not think they should trade Liljegren, nor do I think they should trade one of their defensive prospects. And I guess when I say defensive prospects, I mean the top two in Sandin and Liljegren. This video is more about Liljegren because I feel like trade rumors have been surrounding Liljegren, and fans specifically in Toronto have been talking about trading Timothy Liljegren. And for me, I just think it's complete nonsense. I think for a team and for an organization that's lacking defense, specifically on the right side, and you wanting to trade your number one defensive prospect, arguably, but more specifically on the right side, to me, it's just mind-boggling, and I'm going to explain what other scenarios could go down in avoiding trading a guy like Liljegren. So if you're looking for a guy like Brett Pesce or Justin Falk or a guy on the right side, even a Brandon Montour, why would you trade a Liljegren? You have a forward group that the cap issue is stemming from. You're packed on the forward group. I was trying to use a good word. I don't know what else word to use. I mean, they just have a lot of forwards, and they have a lot of forwards that are going to need contracts. You have Kapanen, you have Janssen, you have Mitch Marner, who's going to command over $10 million. We're talking about guys that really are not going to fit into the long-term plans, especially with guys up and coming. And I mean, there's a guy like Jeremy Bracco in the Marlies system, in the minors, that a lot of fans also want to trade. And you know what? Bracco has the ceiling of a guy like Nylander or Kapanen. I want to try to compare here. Bracco has like the speed of Kapanen, the playmaking abilities of Nylander, and he could be as ready as next year. Yeah, the Leafs are wanting to win now, but maybe trading an Andreas Janssen or a Kapanen wouldn't be the worst thing. And I'm not saying that's what I want, and I'm not saying that's what the Leafs want, and I'm not saying that's the best idea. But it's definitely not a worse idea, or it's not a better idea than trading Liljegren. No, I had it right the first time. It's definitely not a worse idea than trading Liljegren. So for me, I think, as much as I'm just kind of having this as a conversational video because I'm not going to edit it, I just want to go over stats and then talk about other scenarios, specifically on where they could look instead of trading a guy like Liljegren on the back end. So Liljegren, through 23 games this season, has only 8 points, which isn't great, but he only has played combined 60-something points in North America. So he transitioned from Europe. He was hurt through the World Juniors this year. Yes, he was eligible for the World Juniors for Sweden, but he got hurt. Him and Sandin were out for the same amount of games around there. I think Sandin has played maybe a little bit more. I think about 25, and he has about 11 points. So they have about the same stats, but I did watch the other, quite recently, Sandin and Liljegren played together, and it looked so smooth. And you know what? There was a couple mistakes in the back end, but it just looks like, especially the hockey that we're transitioning in, it looks like the hockey you want, and it looks like the hockey you want on the back end for the Leafs. We're talking about Morgan Rielly and how he has progressed as a defenseman. He has become the number one defenseman for the Leafs. And I'm not going to praise myself for this, but I was always on the bandwagon, or I was always behind Rielly, saying he was going to be that guy. Even since he's drafted, I had always liked Rielly, and I always have liked that play style. Even myself playing hockey growing up, I've always liked that kind of play style. You know what? Be responsible in your back end, but contributing the offense from where it starts, which is the defense, is where you get your success. And I think you see it with a lot of teams. You don't have puck-moving defensemen. You don't have defensemen that can get you the puck. How do you expect your forward group to score? So as much as we see it with an example with the Edmonton Oilers, as much as Connor McDavid can go end to end, you can expect Chris Russell and Adam Larson to be feeding these unbelievable passes when you could be having a Rasmus Sandin or a Timothy Liljegren who's developing and who's going to become those defensemen. So in my opinion, guys that could be traded away come from the forward group. And I know there's been a lot of conversations on a guy like Jeremy Bracco, but there's multiple pieces in the Marlies system that provide some potential. And The other scenario would be obviously trading an Andreas Johnsson or Kapanen. Is that ideal? Probably not, but you have to also look long term. And are these guys really going to be in the Leafs long term plans? You have 3 guys that are commanding 10 plus, including Marner. So Marner, Tavares, Matthews. Surrounding core of guys like Nylander, Kadri. The cap's going to be an issue. Yeah, if we're looking at comparables, and I'll probably make another video about this, Kapanen and Johnsson might only command on a shorter term deal around like $3 million max. I think it depends where the rest of the season goes for those 2 guys, but I can't see it being over $3 million on a shorter term deal. So that's where I see it going. But you know what? It wouldn't be the worst thing to trade those 2 guys for defensemen. Matching the cap of what it's going to be, maybe include a Connor Brown, somehow lose a Nikita Zaitsev. There's options. So trading away a Liljegren is definitely not better than trading away some of your forward group that may not even be part of the plan a year in advance. So that's my take on it. I think Timothy Liljegren should stay with the Leafs long term. I think it's a right-handed defenseman that you could learn from your mistakes and look around the league and try to lock these guys up right of their entry-level deals on cap-friendly deals. And we really don't know what their development's going to look like. But from what I've seen in their short time in North America so far, these 2 guys look like legit top 4 defensemen in the future. And we've already talked about it. Liljegren could be as ready to the NHL as soon as next year. I doubt it because of how little experience he's got with the Marlies, and especially his injury this year. It might not take till the following year, but there's always a possibility, and we see it all the time, especially like a guy like Travis Dermott. He came into the lineup, and a lot of people were surprised, and I know last year a lot of people were hating on him, and he ended up being a really good defenseman in the playoffs and didn't get enough ice time. So this year, I think a lot of people have jumped on the Dermott bandwagon, and I think a lot of people are sometimes slow to be jumping on the offensive defenseman bandwagons. I don't know why. I think a lot of people, especially in Toronto, have a trust issue factor, I guess. But that's my take on this video, guys. Again, just my authentic take on videos. You know, I just want to give my fresh take. No editing, you just hear my opinions, and that's how it goes. So please subscribe to the channel, drop a like. I appreciate you all watching. Timothy Liljegren, I hope he stays with the Leafs. I think it's the right move to keep him, and we'll see what moves the Leafs make from now until the deadline and what they do in the playoffs, and then draft, offseason, etc., etc. So this was John from Hot Take Hockey. Have a good one. Peace out.